Hello everyone, and welcome back to Star Trek Showa Station, a Star Trek Adventures actual play using the rules by Modiphius Entertainment. My name is ELH, the Game Master, and I'm excited to finally be back after the break I took for about 2 weeks there. Really excited to get back into playing with these lovely individuals. And overall, after we skip next week because of Thanksgiving, the week after that, I think we're okay. Either way, if you're really wanting to follow us as we premiere, definitely go ahead and give me a follow on Twitch or on YouTube, and you'll find us very quickly. But in terms of announcements, I don't really have any other than the fact that probably all games are going to be off the Thanksgiving week. I'll still stream something, but it probably won't be the games because scheduling around Thanksgiving, at least in the States, is very difficult. So I'm not even going to bother. But aside from that, let's get everybody to introduce themselves and we'll get started. So, Lone Squiff, what do you got going on?
Hello, everyone. I'm Lone Squiff, aka Mal, and I am playing Commodore Taraz, the stoic, possibly Vulcan commander of Showa Station. And I'm very excited to be back playing with everybody today.
All right. Cad, what do you got going on?
Hi, I'm Cad Baneshead. I play Commander Callahan, who is the definitely not stoic, not commander of Showa Station. I'm just happy to be here with these amazing people. I have missed you all. It's great. Oh, hi, and my cat's saying hi too.
Well, now you have to pay the cat tax. You can't say. There you go. There's the cat tax. Hi, kitty. Speaking of cats, Rocket, what's going on with you?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am Rocket Fox. I too am thrilled to be back with all these amazing and gorgeous people. And aside from here, if you ever want to check me out, I have partnered recently with Cybernation Uncensored, and this Sunday morning, depending on where you are, I'm going to be over there playing a little Minecraft. We started a new world, but I have lots of goats, so that will be exciting.
Listen, goats are very important.
They're awesome, but they also just I don't know if anyone plays Minecraft, but these goats hit you. They'll hit you for no reason. So they're pretty realistic in that sense. But yeah, for the purposes of tonight/today, again, wherever you are, I am playing Shishista, aka Shishi, your friendly neighborhood Cation who is going to knock crime off the station like a cat would knock a glass off a table.
Very nice. And certainly last but not least, Ars, what do you got going on?
Hi, I'm Katie, Aris Animus on the Discord. As everyone else has said, I'm super excited to be back. I watched the last VOD, and it was definitely remembering how much of a good time it is. I'm excited that we're back again. And thanks for having me.
Playing.
Sorry. Oh, who I'm playing. That would be important. I am playing Lieutenant Commander. See, it has been a while. I'm playing Lieutenant Commander Vakoya, who is the coordinate chief engineer on this Showa station.
And as is tradition, let's get that intro video going. And welcome back. So, in deviation from tradition, we're actually not going to start with an opening log again because we've been off for quite a while. So I'm just going to kind of handle a little bit of thematic narration for a couple minutes. So we join Showa Station in a very stereotypical, DS9 style shot where we see the outer ring of the promenade, or the outer ring of the station, I should say, the one where all the ships are docking at. And we see a few Federation cargo vessels, Antares class. We see a few J-class freighters that are just coming in and delivering goods. We do see a Cation vessel, which is just coming in and dropping off some tourists. But probably what's paying most attention, to what you should focus on the most, is a Kozo vessel. Now, as a reminder, since it has been a while, the Kozo are the aliens that live in the nebula. That is where Princess Aeko is from. That is where the aliens that came in the first session in 2, that's where they came from, were the Kozo. But we see this kind of large Gothic lantern type vessel that's actually about half the size of this station, all things considered. So it's a very, very large Gothic lantern. And as we kind of zoom into a window next to the airlock, we see a delegation coming down the gangplank to be greeted by the 4 of you in your dress uniforms. Now, Princess Aeko is there as well, and as the 3 Kozo are approaching you, you again see kind of a dark blue azure almost. Very tall, 7-8 foot tall aliens coming towards you. They are wearing sort of like Victorian style dressing. So very very, I guess you would call it posh, to borrow a British slang for a moment. But at their head is an individual wearing golden colors, as well as a very opulent and obvious crown that is offset by a number of red gems. And as you 4 wait for the delegation to come within speaking range, Princess Aeko, in a whisper, says, "That would be my father, King Teshiko. I don't know why he's here, but the fact that he is here is either very good or very bad."
Can I whisper to her, like, you doing okay? How you feeling about this?
Well, the fact that he didn't immediately demand I come back with him, that's a good sign, but it's anyone's guess why he's here and why he's even bothering boarding the station.
Well, if it gets too much, let me know. We will summon an emergency conveniently on the opposite side of the station.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Taraz will be standing at the front, just kind of, listening, but, keeping an eye on the delegation approaching.
So, as I said, there's 3 Kozo in this delegation. There are a number of servitor drones kind of leading behind them. I would say probably about 5. But they seem to be more the retainer type rather than like personnel type. So they're just like carrying royal items, as it were, like the logbook and any kind of like staff or is it a cudgel? I think is what it's called. Either way, they're carrying the royal implements, we'll say. But as they finally come within speaking distance, the Kozo King looks between all of you, centers on the Commodore, and says, "Well, my name is King Teshiko, and on behalf of the Kozo people, I want to thank you for not only allowing me on your station, but also that you've been taking care of my daughter, Aeko." And he nods at the princess.
Taraz will nod, and she will give the Vulcan greeting, which I sadly cannot do. I'm sorry. And she will say, "I am Commodore Taraz. We welcome you on behalf of the Federation. It has been a pleasure having your daughter here with us."
And Aeko kind of smiles and waves weakly, and the king just sort of chuckles to himself and says, "Well, it's good to hear that you're keeping her tasked and out of trouble, because, boy, was she a runner back on Kozo Prime. But unfortunately, I'm not here to embarrass my daughter. I actually have some rather grave tidings to bring, but perhaps we could adjourn somewhere else besides this airlock?"
Yes. Shishi, if you will lead the way, we've prepared a room where we may talk.
Commodore, should I check the non-life form assistants? just in case.
She'll nod, and then she'll look over at Callahan and Commander, if you will.
Okay. All right. As you
And
wish.
Shishi will go over and kind of like a really aggressive pat down on the robots.
Okay.
And then we'll kind of gesture and start leading to the conference room.
Gotcha. I'm actually going to have you guys get a roll going because it has been a while and I want to get you guys back in the habit. So, Shishi, if you want to give me a reason and a security, I'm going to set the difficulty at just a 1. And if you want it, you do have 1 momentum from chat. Difficulty is 1 in case I didn't say it already. And let me see, in terms of focuses, I'd give you espionage. I'd give you espionage.
That was going to be my question. All right, fantastic. I felt like espionage would be a good one. All right, so yes.
Wow.
Nice.
That is wow. Okay, we're starting off strong. That's 4 successes, meaning you're up to 4 momentum. And yeah,
there's anything on these robots, I will find them.
Exactly. And it's one of those things where you pat down 4 out of 5 drones, but on the 5th drone, it starts to be a little bit more stiff or a little bit less pliant to your pat down. And the closer you get to kind of its left thigh, the more it starts to like shake. But because you rolled so well, what I'm going to say is that you're able to keep a hand on this drone, keeping it from moving. And when you pat the left side of its thigh, you do end up finding a pop out compartment. And in that compartment is a disruptor of some kind.
Commodore, I've acquired a weapon from this one.
Charles will kind of look over.
Shishi would open it and pull it off.
Now look over and then look back at the king, raise an eyebrow.
The king does the same. He looks at you and then he looks at the drone and raises his eyebrow and goes, well, that's very concerning and also germane to why I'm here. Perhaps we should go to this meeting place of yours very quickly.
Yes.
Also, you, pointing at one of his handlers, you, get rid of that drone. Throw it out an airlock.
But before they can throw it out, because Shishi and also myself, Rocket, I'm not sure how much they can be questioned, ? So Shishi, before it's thrown out the airlock, would say to the Commodore, sir, I must protest. We may be able to get some information off of this one. I think throwing it in the brig before the airlock would be preferable.
Yes, I would definitely have it detained, and perhaps you and Bokaya could take a look at it later.
My previous work on the other bots that we collected would probably help.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All right, Taraz, I am going to have you do a presence command for me, please. Difficulty of 2 to convince the king to not let, to let the drone go into the brig rather than out an airlock. I believe you have a focus. Let me just double check. Yeah, you've got negotiation. Definitely a focus.
Can I assist on there to help reason why it'd be kind of important, especially if it's privy to why you're here?
Yeah, you know what? Why don't you give me your own presence command? And remember, as an assist, you roll just the 1. And you have diplomacy as a focus, so you do get that. But already you're at 3 successes, which means you're now at 5 momentum. All right, so no extra help from Callahan, but still 3 successes. So the king sees wisdom in what you say, and he says, very well, daughter, why don't you handle the drone to the brig situation, and I will inform your commanding officer as quickly as possible of the situation. And the princess kind of gives one of those look like, I'm sorry, what? And she looks to Rocket, who's technically her commanding officer, direct report, to see what she thinks. Or sorry, to Shishista, I said Rocket.
We are one and the same. This is my actual face.
There you go.
I think you know, she's helped Shishista around. She's done a lot of things. So, and well, also that Shishista would prefer to be in the big room where the important things are going on. So she
Mhm.
just kind of nod.
All right. So from here, you all are going to be headed where specifically? Are you guys going to go all the way up to deck 1 to that conference room? Would you like to have it in a conference room somewhere closer on the docking ring? Where would you like to go on the station to have this quick meeting with the king?
I was thinking if there's some kind of, diplomatic suite of sorts that was attached to a, larger conference style room that, depending on how much time we had to plan them coming, that, we might have set up in advance.
I would say if you spend 2 momentum to create that advantage, you will get the benefit of a diplomatic suite. And just so you know, that benefit means that any command-based rolls that occur in this diplomatic suite actually get a +1 on that, or they get an extra die on that roll.
That good with everybody?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
You like the sound of an extra die.
And I think it would make sense that where we are, especially meeting some new species and whatnot, that we would want to have a spot where we could bring delegations that we're proud of, not just
Definitely.
Gotcha. So let's flavor it this way. So again, the docking ring of Showa Station is almost a 4-spoked gear. So let's say in one of the actual quote-unquote spokes of the gear, there is a full diplomatic suite where it's not just a Federation embassy, an Acacian embassy, and a Tellarite embassy. There is a sort of a working embassy that you can have new people come in and work out of. As you walk through, you do see that apparently there is some small commotion going on with the Klingon delegation that is on the station. There are 2 Klingons on the station. They're all diplomats, just so that everybody's on the same page. But they seem to be yelling at a Tellarite. So actually, now that you think about it, maybe they're having a good time because Tellarite. You don't know. But you all lead the king into one of these temporary diplomatic suites. The door seals behind you. And as a point of order, the king does leave the drones outside of the room. But once everybody is inside and the deal is sealed, the king kind of turns and his smile definitely falters and goes to more of a neutral negative connotation. And he actually looks directly at Vokaya at this and says, Lieutenant Commander Vokaya, is it, if my information is correct?
Yes, sir. She
How-
nods at him.
How much have you had hands-on time with our drones?
She kind of nervously looks back at her crew and is honest. She says, well, we fully hacked into their processors in order to shut down their attacks, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
Right? And now I've been tinkering away with them in my shop for quite a bit. One of them can make a pretty mean Irish Ractagino now.
I have. What is Ractagino?
We'll show you if we get to that later. But to suffice it to say, I'm pretty comfortable. I'm pretty familiar with them now. As
Well,
far as I'm aware.
the reason I ask is because that does mean not only is my intelligence correct, but it also does mean that, unfortunately, what I'm about to tell you next is all the more plausible. Approximately 2 weeks ago, we've noticed that the royal retainers and the royal drones around the palace began acting strangely, as if someone had taken over their programming and otherwise changed their directives. And this all came to a head about 3 days ago when several of the drones attempted a small coup, as it were. Now, at the time, I had enough actual non-drone security on hand to repel the assault, but it was a, shall we say, harrowing affair. And my concern is that if someone is trying to assassinate me, that they might have been after my daughter as well.
Their concern.
Use the word coup. Are you sure this was a takeover, or was this more of an assassination attempt?
Well, that's the thing, is that initially we thought it was just a simple assassination by one of the lower princes, and in fact, Princess Aeko's spurned lover, Zutan. We thought it might have been him for the longest time, but the
Yep.
more we dug into the programming and the more we dug into what happened to the drones, it was military grade coding. It wasn't something a noble could get their hands on.
Taraz is just kind of lost in thought for a moment.
Is there any
You,
Good.
you believe the princess may be in danger as well, even though there were no active drones on the station.
Well, let's put it this way. If this is the military attempting to overthrow the monarchy, they definitely have the means to do so.
So, what is it that we can do for you, Your Highness?
Well, that's kind of why I brought the drones with me. All four of the ones that are outside, and the fifth that I guess is now in your brig. All four of them were part of the drones that did attempt part of this attack, part of this coup. And I'm hoping that with your help, the Federation's help, we can determine who is behind these attacks.
Shijisa would speak up. They were all involved in this coup, and you brought them without any precautions?
Well, that's what these two are for, and he points at his retainers.
Shishista will obviously look them up and down.
Yeah. So they're obviously not as big as the king, because the king is the biggest one in the room, but I will say, as a kind of small reminder, the Kozo can basically hulk out and become a space bear. So physical size doesn't necessarily mean too much, but they are still very chonky boys, is what I'll tell you.
When we're doing this, I'm gonna hit my comm to the princess and be like, "Status report. Are you okay?"
Yes, sir. I'm fine. Just coming back from the brig.
Perfect. We will find another security detail. Until further notice, please do not go anywhere by yourself.
All right. I'll grab one of the security minions. And are you in the diplomatic suite, sir?
Yep, that's correct.
All right. I will be there very shortly.
Awesome. Out.
Perhaps it would be prudent to deactivate your drones for now until we can take a closer look at them.
Agreed. In fact, the fact that Commander Shishista here found a disruptor on them that we didn't initially find is even more concerning. Well done on that, by the way, Commander. Well done. I'm very impressed.
Do you have a range that these drones can be activated or operated by?
Well, it really just comes down to the power of the transmitter. And he kind of looks again at Okaya. Is conceivably, if you had a dish or a transmitter powerful enough, you could reprogram them from Kozo Prime. But that kind of a signal would definitely be picked up on sensors.
So, Kaya, would you be able to make a small disruptor shield that could intercept incoming signals that we could put around these drones?
So personal deflectors?
Yeah. For context, we kind of had these things that you can do with like radio waves for like our
Right.
stuff on Earth. Something similar on that, probably like the size of a backpack or a computer or something that we'd need for this, but something like
I
that.
would say probably something like a portable Faraday cage is what you're after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, okay. So you're thinking more like a self-containing room versus a personal device.
Just extra caution, especially if the two of the main targets that he is worried about are actively on this station. This seems to be the prime time to get him.
Yeah, it's even more interesting that it's this localized of a group, since we were able to hack in to the unit as a whole. This must be obviously more of a specialized attack.
Do you have any lists of contacts that we can start, or suspects that we can start doing background checks for notable known associates or contacts?
Well, that's the funny thing. Aside from Princess Aeko, the only contact I would have on the station was, he kind of thinks for a moment, and he looks at one of his handlers. What was that Ferengi's name? I believe it was Tanek, sir, the shop owner. Yeah, Tanek, the didn't he have a brother? Yeah, Hadid. Tanek and Hadid, we've worked with them in the past.
May I ask
Shishita
what?
makes a face.
I think we all do at hearing the Ferengi brothers are the ones involved.
And actually, real quick, because I'm going to spend a little bit of threat, I'm going to be a little bit mean here. Shishista, what did you do with the disruptor once you took it away from the drone?
She put it in her. She has various holders on her belt. She put in there.
Okay, so
It's her now.
Yeah. Obviously, with that level of success and you being a competent security officer, you would have already checked to make sure that it was powered off or powered down or on the lowest setting, whatever you needed to do to make it safe. But I'm actually going to be spending threat that suddenly the disruptor activates. It doesn't fire, it just activates, and it begins building in intensity, begins building in power.
Shishisa is not even going to say anything. She's going to dart from the room.
Okay.
And make toward. Oh, I mean, we got here. Make toward any place that it could be thrown away.
Okay. I'm actually going to spend some more threat that the nearest disposal or the nearest airlock will be near the Klingon embassy. So we're going to do two very important rolls here, Shishista. No pressure. First, I need to see if you get there in time. So that's going to be a fitness and a security at a difficulty of 2.
Okay.
Like whisper over to Callahan. Man, she's really upset. She didn't even say goodbye. Just ran out of here.
Yeah, it was one of those things where you guys like started to hear like a high pitched hum, and then like Shishista just bolts out of the room, just goes.
She heard about those Ferengi brothers and just like could not handle it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over. I'm like, I know she doesn't like them, and I don't know if I want to stop her right now.
Agreed.
As a focus, I do have handheld energy weapons.
Would be a focus here, yeah.
I feel like that's the all right. And here we go.
All right, 2 successes. You are able to get to the disposal airlock combination.
And
now,
blow up.
The question I'm going to ask is, do you attempt to disarm it before you throw it out of the station, or is this going to be one of those scenarios where we see the disruptor kind of fly through space outside the station and then blow up?
I think it's going to be the latter, because I think at the speed at which she can hear it energizing up, she would know that there's little time to spare.
Okay.
So it's out. It's out of here.
All right. So again, as I said, we see that sort of disruptor sort of tumble a safe way away from the station. It detonates like a grenade. There's not really a shockwave or anything because it was just a small energy weapon. But security does immediately call Shishista and say, we're reading a disruptor detonation near your location, Commander. Is everything all right? Should we send the minions?
I know what you're reading. And instead of sending them here, send them to the diplomatic suite.
Minions on their way.
Send a couple extra to apprehend the robots you see.
Will do.
I'll go, Pakaya, shut all of them down. Do we see
had a
explosion coming out, or are we still none the wiser?
I think we're going to do it this way, that part of as it spins away from the station, you don't see it because, again, small object far away in space, but you definitely see the explosion that happens.
Soon thereafter, Shishista would jump on to communicate. I would imagine there's communication into this room specifically. Commodore and company. I don't know if you just noticed what happened outside of the station, but the disruptor that I obtained off of one of these non-sentient life forms exploded.
Was one of those Ferengis attached to it?
There is a pause. No.
So that means that was a bomb, basically.
Bomb.
Like the bot was a bomb, because if you wouldn't have found the gun. it would have went
More
off inside of the bot.
More importantly, an intentional one. Fukuya, if it had gone off inside of the bot, would that have amplified the explosion, perhaps?
Very well might have. It might have even set off. I'd have to look more into it, but it could have set off a chain reaction. Could have blew them all up.
Okay, now that
know.
you've said the magic words, please roll me a insight plus engineering at a difficulty of 2.
Oh no.
Oh.
Also, yes, Chad, I do see your complication. It's coming, don't worry.
Chat, come on now.
I've
How
been
much?
stabbed 5 times in the leg. The cat had
Lost a hand.
Yeah, the
I'm gonna buy.
complication is actually we're just agitating Callahan's cat. That's what we're doing.
I'm gonna buy 1 die.
Okay.
Roll 3. Would focuses apply here?
Let's take a look at what you have because it has been a while.
Yeah.
I think technically your battle mechs would
I guess
apply
so.
here.
Yeah.
That or
Okay, battle
xenoengineering both could apply.
Right. Excellent. Thank you. Use focus.
All right. Well, hey, there's the 2 successes you need. So now that you think about it, and as you run a tricorder scan of the bots that are nearby, yeah, in fact, since you said the magic words, a cascading explosion, yeah, now that you think about it, some of the internals of these other bots are meant to be accelerants, I think is the right word. Whereas once they're exposed to an explosion, they accelerate and amplify.
And just an explosion, or would they like be would they have like shrapnel or like contaminants with them as well, like a flammable, that kind of stuff?
Right. I would say that they're not flammable. So if they're exposed to fire, it wouldn't be enough to cause the chain detonation. But you are on the right track in that if these bots were to explode, they would send shrapnel everywhere.
Totally.
Why would you all build your bots like that? That's not what she's asking.
Do we know enough? Do we know enough about their technology to know if that like accelerant, as you said, is just something the bots have, or is it like throughout all their technology?
Actually, now that you've had a chance to think about it, also I think we might have lost Rocket. Maybe she's kind of frozen for me.
Oh no.
Oh, there she is. She's back. There we go.
No, in my eyes, it was all you who froze.
So it's not so much that this is how they standard build their bots, but if you give me a momentum, I will answer this question completely and truly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're down to 1 momentum. It's not so much that the bots were purposely built this way, it's that the materials that they normally use for bots are adjacent to these accelerants, meaning that, again, unless you knew it to look for and you ran a deep enough scan, you would have missed this completely.
All right. When all this is going on, I would like to take a look at the king. What is he feeling like about this? What does he look like? Things like that.
Sure. Why don't you give me a insight and a con at a difficulty of, let's call it a 1.
Cool. Can I use my cultural observation focus?
Most definitely.
Yeah. All right.
All right, there's your 1. Yeah, the king is doing his best to maintain his composure, but there is obviously a little tick in his face where like his right eye is just barely twitching a little bit. You're not sure if it's due to anger or whether he's genuinely upset, but you do notice that he is doing his best not to hulk out, as it were.
What about his retainers? How did they react to this?
When all of this came in and as you guys started talking about the explosion and the bots, they moved closer to the king as if to be bodyguards, even closer than they already were.
Okay.
Now, you said these particular robots were involved in the coup attempt?
Yes, and the fact that we missed this material as well is even more concerned. In fact, I would dare say it's impossible. Well, and he kind of pauses. I guess it is possible, but that means that the corruption goes even deeper than I thought to fake scans. That's very concerning.
Who did the scans?
And he looks at the retainer to his left, who is within arm's reach. And this is where chat's complication is going to come into play, because Shishista, you're still on the way back. So the only people in the room right now are the two retainers, the king, Taraz, Callahan, and Vokaya, as the retainer that the king points to begins to try and throttle the king. Now, of course, since this is...
Wrong question.
Yeah, since this is a combat scenario, I am going to say that the players do get to go first. So between Vokaya, Callahan, and Taraz, which one of you would like to act first?
Definitely.
And Shishista, if we go that long, you'll enter in at the end of round 2.
Is Callahan within reach?
I would say Callahan could be within reach, yes.
Yeah,
As
definitely.
soon as I see that, I'm going what Callahan does, where he's going to punch in.
Okay. So, if you're going hand-to-hand, that's going to be a daring and a security at a difficulty of 1, and I will be rolling opposed.
Okay. And I also have a focus in hand-to-hand combat. Go. So,
And remember, you want to have a lot of successes here, because it's my successes you've got to beat here.
okay. All right. And got
Okay,
one.
so it's 1, which means that I have to not roll... you know what, I'm just going to keep it a mystery. That way you don't know their stats. But with a 21... Oh, okay, so they actually do beat you out, but there's also a complication. That's interesting. So here's what's going to happen. Callahan, you're going to be knocked away as you come in with your left-hand punch, or your right haymaker, whichever it is. You're knocked away and are going to take 3 stress of damage. And in case anybody's stress wasn't reset, your stress has been reset, so you're coming from full HP. So you're going to be knocked away and take 3 stress. The complication, though, is that... in knocking you away, the king is going to be able to put some distance between himself and the presumable attacker. So on the... Well, let me ask this. Do you guys want to retain the initiative? And in order to retain the initiative, someone would have to have quick to action, or you would have to spend... Okay, you've got it? Excellent. So yeah, that would mean Taraz or Vokaya, you would be able to act next.
So, Traz has an idea.
Well, this is good. This is good. Go on.
Yes. So, but this is what I want to do. Let's see what we can make happen here. Taraz would like to use the nearby computer in the diplomatic suite to initiate an emergency transport.
Okay.
Of either the king or this attacker.
Okay, let's put a fine point on it. If
Attacker into space, attacker into space.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it the king or is it the attacker? Let's narrow that down first.
Well, if I'm able to single out, I didn't know. I figured the king, we had like bio signs on, we knew who he was. So if the retainer, we know who that is. We'll go with the
You're
retainer.
You're going to beam the king out into space.
No, I wasn't going to be the king out of space.
Well, now that you've said it, maybe if there's
That'd
a
be a bad
complication.
look for us.
All right, so trying to think what to make this, because it's a transporter task. The person isn't on a pad. Where would you be transporting them is the question.
To a brig.
To a brig, okay. So the destination is not a transporter pad, which means that is a control engineering at a difficulty of 4, and Showa Station will assist with a sensors engineering, if I'm remembering my transport task correctly. But it is a difficulty of 4, and you do only have the 1 momentum, so just keep that in mind. Actually, no, you just got a momentum from chat, so you're up to 2.
Because I'm in contact, can I assist with collaboration engineering? And
I would allow
Taraz-
it. Yeah.
Taraz can use my engineering score for the role.
Oh, okay. So that would be instead of Showa assisting, right?
I would say you would get the assist from both sources in this case.
Okay.
And it's sensor what?
Yeah, it's a talent, not a role. So
Yeah. So I think it's sensors engineering. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's sensors engineering.
All right. So, okay, I will use 1 momentum for this.
Okay.
And okay, so control and engineering. Now, how do I adjust my engineering score for the role?
it's
let's
just a
take
5.
Yeah, so what I would say, Taraz, without needing to mess with your sheet. Oh wait, you don't have any 5s. I guess just temporarily change your engineering from 2 to 5, and then
Okay.
then just remember to change it back.
Sweet.
There's the station.
All right, you got an assist from the station.
A computer's focus apply here.
I'll give it to you.
Okay, so number of dice 3.
All right, there's your 4, so that you're up to 5, and then Vokaya, can we get your control engineering from you as well?
Definitely. Just a single assist, right?
Yes. All right, so you get a grand total of 3 momentum after all is said and done. So yes, since there is no complication on the roll, the king is not accidentally beamed into space, but you are able to beam the attacker away into the brig. And it is at this point that Shashista, you come in as the assailant is materializing away.
May I ask where that one's been sent?
We're all in the formal attire, right?
Yes.
Do we still are we armed in formal attire or no?
You're the commanding officer of the station. That's your call.
We should always be armed. Come on now.
Yeah, I would say some kind of ceremonial, but yeah, phaser weapon. Okay.
Sabers, all of us.
Yeah, sabers. There you go. I like it. So as the beam out is happening, she still walks in and says that Taraz is pulling out her saber
Nice.
and pointing it at the other rotator Kozo.
Oh, as soon as that happens, she would go over and start getting ready to gently escort this fine individual also to somewhere safe.
All right. So once it's just the king left in the room at this point, with Callahan, Vokaya, and Taraz, with Shashista taking the other to a brig. I think at this point the king he's gonna not like lose his composure, but the mask does falter enough that all of you notice that he's extremely worried at this point. And he's kind of wringing his hands and saying, well, I guess that answers some questions and also raises a lot more concerns. I knew that honor guard for pretty much his entire adult life, and the fact that he was apparently involved in a assassination coup attempt is very, very concerning. I actually shudder to think what would have happened if I had simply remained on Kozo Prime and tried to handle this domestically.
It does seem like your problems are far more widespread than you initially thought.
Yes, which makes what I'm about to ask you, Commodore, a bit of a stretch, and I would understand if you can't acquiesce, but at this point, I believe I need to make a formal request to Starfleet to help me stabilize the situation on Kozo Prime.
Taraz will put away her rapier and take a seat at the table, and she will say, "I am afraid that is not something we can do. The Federation cannot interfere in the civil politics of your planets."
I was afraid of that, but understandable. I was simply trying all my options, which means my next request is hopefully a little bit more something you can handle. I would request that you work with Vokaya, Shishista, and Callahan then. From my understanding, the Ferengi brothers alluded to the fact that some of the programming might have come from what I understand to be Klingons.
That would be surprising.
Well, I guess what I'm asking in a roundabout way is I'd like you all to try and, or I guess I should say this in a more formal way. Commodore, I'm requesting that you question or interrogate your Klingon individuals on the station to see if they're involved in any way.
We would have to be careful. We don't want to immediately throwing out accusations. The current peace with the Klingons is very well, it's with Klingons, so
Tenuous at best.
we can't be too aggressive about it. Also, even if it is a thing where they're not involved, we might have made two enemies just on the accusation. Or they might be bored.
The best I can offer you right now would be a safe harbor for any refugees.
I'm going to go over to the Commodore and he's like, well, what if there happened to be like a diplomatic mission to the Nebula and we just so happen to be around? We're not just going to sit by.
Well,
we have a very good liaison.
Taraz was speaking aloud. Perhaps if we were formally invited to Kozo Prime and we had to send a delegation there.
Callahan and Taraz. I'll let you decide who's doing the main role and who's assisting. But I am going to make this a difficulty of 5 here. So it is going to be very difficult. You do have 3 momentum to work with. And as a reminder, because you are in the diplomatic suites, you already have 3 dice.
So remind me again how the values work, because I have mind of when you know the rules, it's easier to bend them, which I feel like fits this situation flawlessly.
So the way it works is if you wish to activate a value, you would spend your point of determination. And okay. You have, at the start of the roll, you have the option of getting 2 free successes to start with.
I think I will definitely do that.
All right. But that also means you have to be the main role here.
What is the role I need to make again? The presence
command? And command.
Those are good for me. Are you okay with that?
Sure.
And definitely, yeah, diplomacy would work on that. And I will use the momentum if everyone's good with that, because I feel like that's...
So you want to roll your 4 dice here. So that would be all 3 of your momentum, because 1 die from the suites, another die that's already rolled a 1 from determination. So the 5th die technically costs 3 momentum.
Okay.
Now, does Taraz's assist get the benefit of the diplomatic suite?
No. Unfortunately, it's only the main roll.
Okay.
All right. Well, there's already 1. All right. So we are going to get 5, but there is a complication. We love complications here. I think the king is... Oh, go ahead. You may have something?
No, I misunderstood something, so that's...
Okay.
We're good.
All right. So the king is actually going to nod at what you're saying, Callan, and says, you know what, you're right. Perhaps if we were to invite some of you all and...
Oh, wait.
All right, you do have advisor. Hold on. Yeah, you re-roll that 20.
All right.
Nice.
Coming in clutch. I think if you just do the reroll results in chat, it might work, but I'm not sure.
That's what I'm doing.
There you go. All right, so you actually get a momentum back. So you're at 1 momentum overall. Excellent. So yeah, the king was going to say something, but he kind of scratches his chin and says,
Plus
You
2
know-
because I used the determination, right?
oh yeah, you're right. So actually you get another 2 momentum. So you're actually at 3. You're back at 3. So the king kind of scratches his chin and thought and goes, you're right. If we were able to invite you all to Kozo Prime and gave you a diplomatic tour, perhaps seeing Starfleet would calm some of the attempts at my life and the life of the administration. My only concern is that, well, I understand you don't necessarily have your own ship attached to the station, which means you'd have to come back with me.
He seems awfully well informed.
Well, wouldn't that also put great credence to us being invited, that we are being escorted and transported by the king himself?
I'd like to have my own ride. Just keep him in at the escape, vehicle.
Do you have a place to store a shuttlecraft that we at least could take something out if need be?
We've got enough room for one of your shuttlecraft, of course.
What momentum are we at right now?
You're at 3 overall, if I have my count correctly.
How did they was it said how they discovered that these guys had a plot to assassinate?
So
did they catch them in the act?
Yeah, they basically stopped them in progress. And that's how they figured out the military code, the military angle, and that nature.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vokoya mentions to both of you that she could also investigate further, while this is happening, investigate further into the bots, because there might be traces of who was hacking, if it does lead to the Klingons or somebody else.
Yes. I would definitely like to have a Federation laboratory at her disposal, though. And in fact, now, out of character, Taraz has, I know it's not involved with the role right now, but she has the value friends in all the places.
Okay.
Could we spend some momentum to create an advantage that she's able to call upon a ship?
Sure. What kind of ship do you want to get? It will be limited, the kind of ship you can get, but I could potentially give you a temporary something.
I'm thinking science vessel of some sort, since we're going into the nebula.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's take our 5 to 10 minute break. I'll quickly throw together a ship for you, and we can deal with that. But yeah, we'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes, everybody. Stick around. And welcome back to part 2 of session 6 of Star Trek Showa Station, where apparently the aliens that live in the nebula next to the station, the Kozo, are experiencing a bit of a weird day, in that the Kozo King has come to visit, and more than one attempt has already been made at his life within the span of about an hour. So, to say that paranoia and nerves and a whole other slew of emotions are running high would be an understatement. But as Taraz, as you're acquiring a vessel for you all to follow the king back to Kozo Prime with, we're actually going to focus now on Shashista and Vokaya now. Not just because you have bots to look at, but you also have prisoners to interrogate if you so wish. So I'm going to let you two define where you start with that, and then as needed, we can bring in Taraz and Callahan as events warrant.
Right. I would say I refer to my commanding officer.
Okay.
I think that Shishista would start to interrogate a little bit, but I think it's going to be the most valuable if Vokai also gives a little rundown on the inner workings.
To Shishi so that she knows like what's going on with it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I don't know that she's integrated too many robots.
Yeah, no doubt. So as Vokoya like starts her like task of like delving into more in depth of tracing this like kind of this dive into their system, she shows she's like, so this is like their main like operating console, and shows like the back like breaker switches like and like stuff like that, all kind of the maintenance hatches. I can't really think of much more than that, but shows her kind of all the areas that that only somebody that like maybe had built these things would kind of know, because she spent so much time on them now. They're weak spots, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
She can't provide any like emotional back, like any triggers for you to be able to break them, as it were. But
yeah, I think
cat's being cat. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
she would take that in, and then, well, I'll do what I can, but try and figure out whatever it is you need to figure out with these things as quickly as you can, and join me.
Yeah, she's very much like trying to help, but she's like, I can't come down off a mechanical level for these guys. There's really not much I can help you with. I'll look further into the tech side of it though.
Right.
Yes, that would be helpful.
Yeah. With you two working in concert, Shishista, you're going to be rolling a reason and a security here. And I believe you have criminal minds, which means you're going to get a free question if you succeed. Vokaya, you're going to be assisting with your reason engineering, and you would have a focus of xenoengineering and battle mechs in this case. I'm going to set the overall difficulty here also at a 5. So you have 3 momentum to play with. Shishista, you do have your determination if you wish to tap it. And remember, you also can give me threat is an option.
Just a question before we get started.
Yes.
GM, we know from our past practice with these bots that they are all interconnected, but they obviously can all work independently, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Do we know that that's like constantly on? Like they're constantly hive mind, but they're also interdependent, or would we not know?
I would say based
if
on
it's
the
like
fact,
a switch on or off.
Right. I would say based on the fact that you've been able to go over Princess Aeko's drones more than enough, it is a toggle. It is something that can be toggled almost at will.
So that's, I would think, important information that I would pass off to Shishi to let her know that they can be made independent, as it were. As a last note. Sorry.
Now, is that something, this toggle, is that something the robot itself can toggle, or would someone have to do it?
I would think someone would have to do it.
Yep.
That's
Very
a programming option.
But for the sake of argument, let's say that it's literally just a button on the back of their neck for sake.
Yeah.
That way it's easy.
Definitely.
They can't reach it. They have really tight shoulders.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't reach behind them at all.
All right, so I will use a determination.
Okay, which value are you tapping?
I am going to go with can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs.
All right.
This robotic egg might get broken.
All right, I like it. So that'll give you 2 free successes to start with. Do you want to buy any extra die?
We have 3 right now.
Yes, and since you are using determination, the next die would cost 2 momentum. The third die would cost a total of 5 momentum.
I mean, I'm starting off with 2, so I would only need 3. I don't know. What are you thinking?
1 die. At least, yeah.
Say again?
At least 1 die.
If you really feel like you need to go for it, go for it. But trust your judgment on that.
Okay.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yep, he said it.
So is that a yay or the nay on the die? Because are we both GM
Yes.
question? Are we both gonna have to roll to get 5?
Yeah, so Volkaya will be assisting you on this.
With
Okay.
1 dice.
Perfect. So I would really, if Akaya rolls well, only need to get 2. And it's just for 1 question. Okay, you know what? We're gonna leave the momentum there. We're gonna see what the gambling has to offer us here
Okay.
on this day.
All right.
And then I'll use a talent though.
I'm insight engineering, correct?
Reason engineering for you.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you.
Also, my cat is like
Quest-
bringing me all her toys to like start throwing for her. So if I'm moving, it's because my cat is being a cat.
Using the talent, I don't know if I've done that before. Is there a place to input it on?
Yeah, if you click the com badge, it should put it in chat.
Oh, okay. Hey, okay, I see it.
Yeah, that's where your
Hey,
bonus
okay.
momentum is coming from.
Oh, perfect. Good. Okay, Here we go. Here it is. This will go well.
No whammies, no whammies.
1, 2, 3. Here we go.
Okay, well, there's your 3
Lord.
successes. That is okay. So that 1 is including your determination. So that is 4 total successes. Let me think. Also, I apologize if that jet noise leaked in. Let's say I'll let you succeed at cost, but there will be a complication.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, in interrogating the drone, the 2 of you working together, you are able to determine that the code involved with the reprogramming nature of these drones does appear to have a Klingon signature, meaning that the code is Klingon in origin, or at least would be the equivalent of someone going on the Klingon Wikipedia or the Klingon Stack Overflow and copying code, if you follow what I'm saying.
Possibly made to look that way.
I cannot say yes or no, but I'll just say that it's good you're thinking it. But that's what you get as your base success here. Now, again, you do have criminal minds, which means you get 1 free question.
Remind me, is this a question to the robot or to you?
Either to the robot specifically, or we can handle it that I will answer as the GM and in a complete fashion.
Is it, and I guess I asked this to the entire table, is it too broad to ask who sent you?
Probably wouldn't necessarily know.
Or they would just say, King.
Maybe
If it depends if it's an honest answer, yeah, you might get caught in the, my creator, but they don't know who made them.
Yeah.
How about something more along the lines of, what is your objective?
So the drone's objective is to remove the quote-unquote despot king and all of his kin from the throne so that a rightful democratic government can ascend.
Meaning the princess, too.
Yep.
Despot? No, let's
Do
not
we
say
know
things
there?
we can't.
Do we know there's it's like a rebellion in their nebula on their planet, right? Is that what we get the gist of?
Presumably.
Presumably, right. Okay. I was pretty sure it wasn't confirmed.
They're having a tea party,
Instead of tea, they're just putting Ractigino into their oceans, just dumping
Yes,
crates. and crates.
pushing it out through the nebula.
The
Mhm.
wonder they're
fish are all,
framing.
like jumping into the air.
No wonder they're framing the Klingons.
Yeah.
It's got coffee. Okay, so we obviously have you found out that much.
But yeah, I mean, technically, you also still have 3 momentum. So if you want to ask more questions that I have to give an honest answer to, you can spend 1 momentum for 1 question as much as you want.
Despot. So if, and this is not my question,
Mm-hmm.
just to specify, if one were to hit the little neck switch so that they're linked up to the big bot in the sky, would one who is asking one of them questions be able to access knowledge that any of the other linked up ones would have?
Since this is not your question, I'll be nice and say that yes, presumably hooking them up to the hive mind would give them hive mind memory access.
I think if we wanted to use momentum, I think it could be useful in that one of them, whilst hooked up to the hive mind, would had to have seen someone that was like doing some of the programming or something.
Okay.
So we could at least get a lead on someone, and that could be a place to start.
All right. I'm going to answer this question, but I'm also going to spend threat that, something happens as you get this information. So as the drone begins to describe the individual, what you get is kind of this shadowy silhouette in your mind. You are able to at least tell from the description that they are Kozo, and that they are some form of a noble Kozo, so kind of that upper echelon. But right as they start to say the word prince, that's when the bot begins to not beep, but begin to glow red as if its internal power plant is overloading.
At that, gonna make sure that the force field over the brig is very strong, secure, up, and gonna just let it happen, I guess.
Okay. So yeah, unless Vokaya, you want to step in?
Ooh, Vokaya, can we beam it outside the ship?
You guys just love to beam stuff with these new transporters, don't you?
just floating along, and then
But the
Vokaya, I
brigs,
wanted to see it
the brigs don't have airlocks.
explode.
Yeah, no airlocks in the brig. That we got to remove that temptation.
Yeah, no doubt.
How we boom it. This is how we boom it.
There's no time to you don't want me to try to deactivate it, Commander?
It seems to be glowing very precariously, very quickly. I
Yeah.
don't want my brig damaged.
All right, we'll do an emergency transport.
Okay. Since you're at 3 momentum, we're just going to say that no roll required. We see again another drone materialize in space. And you know what? I'm just going to say for funny flavor, Taraz and Calhan, you're still with the king. You guys see another explosion out of the window. And the king kind of looks at the explosion.
Broken bits of the phaser that are slowly spread out, so the robot appears in front of that and explodes.
Yeah, the king just kind of
They
looks.
remain for the rest of time.
Yeah, king just kind of looks out the window and goes, "Do explosions like that happen a lot around here?"
When the royalty of your people show up, it seems to happen more often.
I think I'm supposed to say something about the correlation does not imply causation, but sure.
Perhaps we should go talk to the retainer down in our brig.
That would be a good idea. However, would you like me to remain here? I mean, I do see that you have 6 security, what did you call them, minions outside at this point?
Where's the princess at this point?
The princess is outside unless you wanted her to be somewhere else.
Um,
She was on her way to
yeah, let them have the room. They can talk.
So, as we transition, and Callahan and Taraji will arrive in a few moments, but for Shashista and Vokaya, that is what you get from the bot interrogation. Do you want to begin interrogating or investigating a different bot, or do you want to go into the retainer at this point?
I think we've gotten all we can get out of the bots. I'd say go into the retainer.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah,
As ordered.
I would say just as you get, nice and settled in front of the force field in the brig, that's when Callahan and Taraz come in. So now all of you were present in the scene for the interrogation.
Okay.
And yeah, for his part, the retainer is just kind of seated on the brig chair or the brig bench, arms crossed over his chest, and just sort of staring without really focusing on any of you, just kind of like looking over your shoulder out into the distance.
Commodore, would you like to do the honors?
Oh, Commander, what did you learn from the bots?
Well, I can tell you that our wonderful Vokoya did find that there was a trace of Klingon verbiage within the robot. However, on drawing from their hive mind, it seems that could be a, what do you call it, red trout.
Red herring, I think you believe the phrase would be.
I think it is catfish.
No, that is something else that you had to deal with in your youth.
Either way, it seems that before our, and wistfully, she would look kind of toward anywhere that's looking outside. Our latest explosion, we did get the sense that it is a noble, and we know that it is a prince who is behind this.
Well, we have at least one suspect that has the motive.
I would agree offhand.
Unless there's more than one prince.
I'm assuming there is.
But
Yeah,
it is
so out of character, by this point, you would have had time to talk with Aiko and get a general feel of what goes on in Kozo Prime. So if you'll imagine that at the top is the king, queen, whoever's in charge of the monarchy. Then you have direct descendants like the princess. And then kind of underneath them are the extended family. So the nephews, the nieces, the cousins in general. Those are usually princes and princesses. Overall, there's probably about, let's put a fine number on this. Let's say 6 princes, including the certain Prince Zutane that visited you during session 1, session 2.
This
Okay.
is why this is happening. Too many princes.
Did you tell us about the weird democratic thing it said as well?
Evidently, they think the king is despot, and they want some sort of democracy. Which is
royal
interesting coming
wanting-
from a prince.
Yeah, a royal wanting democracy seems very much like political speech and not an actual motive. But we've seen stranger things.
Do we know this retainer's name?
Gotta make a name for him, because I was content to leave him nameless, but since he's actually become a titular character, let's give him a name. Let's see.
She would call him you.
Yeah.
Listen, you.
Let's say that his name is Chinash, and I'll put that in chat. His name is Chinash.
So, Chinash was it? What is your end goal here?
He just sort of stares past you. He doesn't make any movement that he's even looking at you, just continues to stare off into the distance. No body language that he's even even heard you, kind of a thing. Like he's giving you absolutely nothing. Forget what it's called, but it's basically like a gray rock situation where he's giving you literally nothing.
Oh, look, the environmental controls are failing in your cell.
Shishista, doesn't this one kind of look like the one guy those Klingons were after? I'm sure they would have some fun with their interrogation. You know how they get.
Also, she would kind of step right up to the thing and try and get right in his eye path. Listen, unless you want to be the next thing floating through space and exploding, you better open your mouth.
I like it. I like it. All right. So Shishista, give me a present security. This will be a difficulty of 4. And by my count, you have 2 momentum to work with right now.
I do have a focus of negotiation, and that's pretty sound negotiation in my mind.
I'll give it to you, sure.
Aggressive negotiation.
Mm.
And
Should I grab an extra die, y'all?
I mean, you would have to at least get 1 because otherwise you'd have to get a crit on 2 die.
Yeah, let me do it. I'm gonna take it.
Unless Taraz can assist with it, but
I'll let Taraz or Callahan, but not both. Either one of you can assist with a presence command on your part.
Okay.
Would you like to, or shall I?
I'll do it.
Yeah.
All right, well, there's already 2 from Taraz.
Okay, all right. That's why Taraz is our fearless leader. All right, here we go.
All right, well, there you go. That is a grand total of 5 successes, meaning you get your momentum right back.
And
so
no
now that you've
complications.
disrupted Chanash's view, he just kind of closes his eyes and sighs and says, "You Federation types don't quite understand the situation on Kozo Prime. I'm sure the princess and the king would give you honeyed words about how everything is great and everything is hunky-dory, but the truth is that we have been ruled over with an iron fist, that we are in desperate need of some new rules, new regulation, new laws, and they haven't been provided to us."
Well, seeing as how the princess came to us running from a maniacal crazy man who attempted to kidnap her, I think we'd be open to hearing your side of the story.
Well, it's probably a story many of your Federation worlds have dealt with before. We want simple things. We want expanded healthcare. We want more recognizing of niche groups, those that are less fortunate, the standard raising up the poor, that sort of thing. But in general, we're just looking for a leader, or at least a democracy or some form of leadership that actually gives a shit about the people for once.
But why assassination is your main method? That cycle of violence generally never ends well for a sustainable government.
Well, I don't know how it is with... And he kind of looks at you. You're human, I believe.
Yes.
I don't know how it works with you humans, but for the Kozo, when you run out of all other options and the only other option is violence, well, we tend to... And he kind of like motions with his hands like he's hulking out, but he doesn't actually hulk out, but he shows that violence is very much ingrained into their system.
I do understand that.
What methods have you tried before? If this was your last resort, I'm not blaming you. Just what have you tried?
Well, we've tried parlaying with the king. We've tried going through the lower parts of the royal monarchy. Overall, nothing's worked. Nothing's stuck. We get empty promises back, or we get told one thing and then the opposite happens.
How much support do you all have?
That's going to require another roll.
Okay.
Callahan, since you're the one asking
Honestly,
the
I think it's worth
questions
knowing.
here. Well, sorry, go ahead, Rocket.
Oh, I was just saying, I think it's worth knowing.
Yeah.
Like if it's just a small group versus an actual like movement.
So yeah, Callahan, this is going to be another presence and command. I'll let one person assist you.
Yep.
And this will be a difficulty of 5. Definitely a difficulty of 5 on this one.
Okay. I will definitely want to spend momentum for another die.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right, looks like Taraz got you the assist. Okay, so it's looking like there's going to be 4 successes with a complication. Now, you don't have determination, but you could challenge a value to get it. Oh, right, you do have advisor. Good call there. Good call there. So you can re-roll that 20.
Cool.
All right, that is what you needed. You get the 5 you need.
Yo.
All right.
So Chanash kind of leans in and puts like his elbows on his knees and kind of steeples his fingers and says, well, I can see there's no point in hiding this information from you. I can tell you that about half of the lower families of the princesses and princes, they're on board. In terms of populace, I'd say about 60% of the populace is on board.
All right. So we have a majority in there. If, say, worst case scenario, and this continues in all out violence, what would be the likely outcome and consequences? Think worst case, what would happen to your people?
Well, worst case, we'd probably enter into a troubled time where we would harken back a few centuries where the government just was so embroiled in conflict that we didn't have a government. I believe it would be something akin to anarchy for a while.
Which brings my next thing. Say these attempts succeed. There is now a power vacuum. How do your people generally tend to respond to that? And seeing as how you just said you tend to anarchy does not give me high hopes.
Well, that's why we've worked with the princes and princesses so that one of them who supports our cause would step in and fill that vacuum very quickly.
But I don't think that would go into what your desires are. I'm worried you would just replace the enemy you know with one you don't.
Yes. Would that not be another monarchy of sorts?
Well, the royalty we have consulted with have made it very clear that if they are coming into power, that they would relinquish their control. They would impose new laws and organizations so that a democracy or something approaching it would be instituted.
I don't know how it is on your world, but on Terra we have a saying called politicians lie. People lie to gain power. And they make promises that they have no intention of keeping.
Well, if that were the case, well, to put it simply, we would just get rid of them and try another.
Have you had a thought of doing a thing where you don't completely remove the current king, but have him abdicate some power while keeping his title and position, while creating some checks on it? A constitutional monarchy, if you would.
Well, I'm not exactly familiar with this government proposal you're outlining, but if we thought the king was amenable to it, sure. But as I said earlier, every time we've tried to talk with him, or one of our representatives has, they've been shut down, ignored.
Has it always been a one-on-one, or have you had a third party involved in these negotiations?
Sometimes we've tried meeting him in court, others at social gatherings. Never so much a news statement, not like paparazzi where we're hounding him or anything, but it definitely is one of those situations where we've tried many different angles.
Well, let me clarify. Instead of being Kozo with Kozo, has there been a third party to speak to both sides?
His eyes kind of light up.
Something the Federation might be able to help with.
Yeah, exactly. His eyes light up as you say that and says, well, no, we generally have kept to ourselves in the nebula, but I suppose if you are offering to let the Federation be a third party, that obviously I can't speak for everyone in the movement, but that conceivably would be acceptable.
We are not arbitrators. We cannot make a final decision. All we can do is mediate.
Well, if there were a way for me to get back to my people, I would say that if you'd let me go, I would go back and report all this, but my understanding is that you don't have a spare vessel for me.
And I think it would not be wise if we just let you go. We could give you access to communicators to try to reach someone on there. But I think
Unfortunately, communications wouldn't work. We're very much a face-to-face movement in coordination. But at that moment, Taraz, you get a chirp at your communicator.
This is Taraz, go ahead.
Oh, yes, this is Captain Volovsky. I understand you wish to be using the USS Elena?
Yes, we are looking at a journey into the nebula.
Well, good news is that your wonderful logistics personnel have offloaded last cargo container, so if you wish to requisition the USS Elena, I am happy to loan her to you for duration of whatever your mission is. However, my one stipulation is, if you break it, you buy it.
Understood. Stand by. Well, it seems we have you a ride. If you would be willing to travel with us.
I think that would be better than going with the king, for sure.
I'm going to lean into Taraz and be like, let's, like in kind of a whisper, like, let's stall. I want to talk to the princess away from her father first to see a clearly less biased opinion on these two sides.
Agreed. Well, Chinash, we have some preparations to make.
Well, and he just kind of motion around. I'll be here.
Thank you.
With that, Taraz will leave the brig.
So, when it comes to confronting the princess, is it going to be all four of you? Is it just going to be Taraz and Callahan?
I feel like all four might be a bit aggressive.
Yeah.
Such a delicate topic.
I think, given the rapport, Shishi might be the best one.
Okay, Shishi going. All right. So, Shishista, when you go to meet with the princess, she comes out of the room that her father and king is currently in, and she sees you and goes, Commander, I'm willing to report that there has been no further attempts on my father's life, and that my father is recuperating in good spirits. He's found your Ractigino and is having a delightful time with it.
I'm sure he will enjoy it greatly.
Well, small note, Commander, about the Ractigino. I don't know if you know this, but apparently for the Kozo, it is more of an inebriation device, if you will. It is equivalent to liquor. That's why I've stayed away from it.
Oh, well.
So versatile.
Disregard what I was going to warn him about then anyway. So we have indeed found out some information from both the former attendant as well as the robot.
Well, what have you found?
Princess, and she's gonna kind of guide her into I'm assuming they're not in like a wide open space, but somewhere that seems a little more like protected, as to note that it's going to be a little bit of a private.
We'll say next to the diplomatic suites is just like a small janitor's closet, so you just got to take her into the janitor's closet because
Code of silence comes down.
Yeah, cone of silence. There you go.
It's not what you think. No. So, Princess, I will be blunt with you. It seems that these attempts have been because there is a great number of individuals among your people who seem to want a democracy.
And her eyes do light up a little bit. Like she knows what you're like. It's obvious she knows what you're talking about, but she lets you continue.
It seems the standing complaints are a lack of health care, government as it stands not listening, and among other assorted complaints. And, well, as you know, the Federation cannot get directly involved in such matters. However, in lieu of additional violence or attempts on the lives of anyone within your direct family tree, what we can do is provide some moderation. However, as you have been among us and are a trusted source of your cultural background, we thought it best to gauge your understanding of this situation.
Quite reasonable, and I do appreciate that you brought this to my attention. It is a difficult subject. I don't want to dispel any rumors. It's not like we're withholding healthcare or something essential to the people, at least as far as I'm aware. It's more that as society develops and as our technology develops, the people want access to it immediately. They want to have everything at once. And she kind of actually looks around the closet and she points at a bucket of literally a mop and a bucket. And she says, consider the mop and the bucket. It's a cleaning tool of some sort that, you have one of in this closet. Well, let's say, for example, that my people have never had a mop or a bucket, but we show that we have one mop or bucket. Well, people are going to want this new cleaning utensil or cleaning instrument to use, and they're going to be very vocal about wanting it because they've never seen a bucket before.
So, you're saying democracy is a bucket?
I'm saying more that the services that they're asking for require technology that hasn't been rolled out in sufficient fashion. It's still very much in a developmental stage where, yes, we are providing healthcare to them, but probably what they're asking for is the equivalent of human cancer. They're asking for that cure. It costs quite a lot of credits in order to produce that cure. So yes, it is possible for us to do, but it is very costly.
Well, it seems from someone who is neither invested nor a politician of any kind, that the people probably at least deserve to have the full information, and it seems they do not have it, nor do they feel like they have any say in these matters, even though it directly involves their lives.
Now that I would agree with, and you can tell she's choosing her words very carefully. It's not so much that my father doesn't listen to the people, it's more that he delegates and listens to those he delegates to, which is probably why that would-be assassin ended up as his handler for this visit, I guess you would say.
Well, if I may once again be blunt, your father better learn to listen, or else he may not have the opportunity.
I actually am in agreement with you there, Commander. I do believe my father could do with some change. However, I've heard through the grapevine that apparently you're going to be going with an away team to help mediate something on Kozo Prime. Would you like me to stay with my father for the duration, or would you like me to go with you?
Well, your father will be safe here. I have at least 20 minions I can assign to him. And it may be helpful to have someone with us who has a more personal understanding of the way things are done amongst your people.
So out of character real quick, and this is kind of a pivotal moment where, Shishista, if you want to call out of character to the others to weigh in, feel free. But this is kind of me
Guys?
subtly asking, do you want the princess at the negotiation back on Kozo Prime, or do you want the king back at negotiation, kind of a thing? Because that can go two very different
choosing
ways.
One or the other. Okay.
Yeah.
We should probably have the king.
I'd say the king. I
Yeah.
also would say let's ask the princess what she wants because she's been with us. Is it something she's looking forward to the future to rule or do that, or does she like her life here and wants to continue doing that? Because that could also give us an angle that the princess has given up her claim to anything. She doesn't want it, if that was the case.
Here's what I'm thinking. We bring both. And Aiko having, as you said, given up to seek asylum, what if we show up with her in a Starfleet uniform?
Yeah, she goes with us.
Exactly.
She doesn't go in the king says she is with us.
Yeah, she shows up in full Starfleet uniform, cadet or something,
I would point out,
honorary promotion.
I was gonna say, yeah, as Commodore, you definitely have the authority to give her a field promotion.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking with this. And then the king travels in his ship, Ike goes with us, and it's like official member of Showa Station, crew member now.
Yeah. If
I relay all of this.
Yeah. And I think the princess thinks about it for a moment and replies, I actually rather like that idea. The only amendment I would make is that perhaps I should travel with the king, at least for the trip over to Kozo Prime. That way, in case any would-be assailants, if they were to attack the vessel, they would be attacking a Federation officer in the same way. That might be a good enough deterrent.
Well, I will join as well then. If the assailants were able to get this close to your father, it'd be beneficial for him to at least get to the table.
Very much agreed. All right. So, out of character. At this point, it sounds like we're going to go to Kozo Prime, and this is going to be a two-parter. But before we go and sort of have you guys hop onto the Elena and start flying with the King's vessel into the nebula, is there anything or anyone you want to talk to, accomplish, or handle before you leave the station? And I'm going to go around the table. So let's start with Fokaya. Is there anyone you want to talk to? Is there anything you want to do, et cetera, before you leave the station?
Yeah, so she definitely talks to her engineering team. They have been working on tuning the sensors to feather light after Callahan's orders to make them more sensitive after that net attack Showa.
Okay.
So she's definitely going to make sure that's all buttoned up.
Okay.
So that the station is hopefully more, if any danger were to come, they have more of a heads up.
Okay.
She was also she's also very concerned about Shishi being on that other ship with the bots possibly being like shrapnel bombs. So not exactly sure what she's doing about that, but she's concerned and investigating how to deal with that before she leaves.
Okay. Yeah, we'll say that you're keeping it in mind, and that might flavor things depending on how mean I am with threat in the next session. So we'll keep that in mind.
Definitely.
All right. Let's now turn to Shishista. Anything you want to accomplish before leaving?
She is going to approach the Ferengi brothers.
I wanted to do that as well, so can I go?
You can go with him. So the two of you begin approaching the Ferengi brothers, and immediately they just kind of do that Ferengi, like, wrists together, hands in front of them, go, we didn't do it! Whatever it is you think we did, we didn't do it!
Shishi, because again, Shishi's like 7 feet tall. She leans down so she can be square, like, at eye level with both of them. And she's just going to say, I know everything. I will know everything. Anything you do, I will know. As soon as you think a thought, I will know.
Then you know what I'm thinking right now at this very moment?
Yeah, you're trying to find the nearest bathroom.
No, actually, I'm kind of thinking that this is really hot and I shouldn't be into this.
She's just gonna stand back up with a very disgusted, perhaps, look on her face.
Disgust is a good word, yeah.
Ugh.
You don't want to know
Regardless.
their mating ritual. You would not come out okay.
Like, if there is an expression past disgust, like I don't know if you ever see the animes where like the whole full body shiver just
Yeah, I know the type. Yeah. It's almost like, oh, this is going to be a callback. Do you know the sword Excalibur from, what was that? Was that Death Eater? Was that the anime?
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
God, that's a callback. I don't even want to know how old that anime is. I don't want to look.
I think what you're trying to say is Excalibur.
Soul Eater. That's what it was. Soul Eater. Thank you. That's what it was.
Oh man, that's gonna be stuck in my head for days now. But yeah, so she's just gonna stand back up and kind of do the eyes thing, eyes to eyes. I will know. So watch what you do, as if I were looking over your shoulder at every moment. And as soon as you do anything you shouldn't do, as soon as you think about doing anything you shouldn't do, and she's going to gesture to one of the big windows, you will end up out there. Do you understand me?
Quick question. Will I also explode?
Yes.
Okay, I will refrain from commenting on what I'm thinking then. I understand.
Unless a king told us you were doing stuff, so...
We have no knowledge of any king. We've never dealt with a king. We certainly have no knowledge that the king is currently in Diplomatic Suite 2-3.
So lying to us directly, I think, is that an airlockable offense, Shishista? You've done worse for less, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Someone beeped at me earlier.
Do you want to change that answer?
Oh, okay, I'll come clean. We've maybe sent a crate of Ractigino to the nebula once or twice, once it started flowing into the station. Apparently the king really likes it for some reason.
Who's your contact in the nebula?
I don't really know their name. They just sort of show up on one of them J-class vessels and just kind of take on crates and go places.
How do you contact them for new shipments?
Well, and the Ferengi brothers kind of look at one another and they nod, and the elder Tanek produces a pad, and you see it's kind of like a message board format where it's like they get a message that say, hey, I want a shipment of this. All right, let me contact this poster. And then there's kind of like a direct message that they go through. It's all text-based, though. No voice recordings, no video recordings. It's all text-based.
Is there like...
Oh my god, they go through Space Reddit.
Yep.
Yeah, basically Space Reddit, more or less.
Is there like usernames or things on there, or?
I would say there's identifiers, but not like, like Kozo King 95 or like nothing like that.
Yeah,
that's what the kings would be.
Is there like a way we could track those identifiers, or is it just something completely random that we wouldn't be able to do?
It would take you a significant amount of time combing through sensor logs and who's been at the station, who's left recently. It's possible it would just take time. Okay. Time that you don't necessarily have at the moment.
Also,
she will put a finger and just like bop him on the forehead. You are going to do something for us.
Okay. Do you want me to jump out a window?
No, not yet. You are going to contact this nebula contact of yours, and you are going to let us know when they're going to be doing a pickup and or delivery and or both.
Okay. There's no guarantee that they're going to reply, but I can certainly do that.
Do it.
And
Takes the pad, types in a message, sends it, shows it to you. There you go. Message sent.
and if you are less than truthful on any responses, I heard you had a run-in with a ghost before.
We don't talk about that. Rule of acquisition number 223. Never talk about ghosts.
I'm pretty sure you did the rule of acquisition running like a coward at that time.
Listen, Rule 93 is very, very clear that if you have a situation that you need to run from, you should run from it.
If you have a situation you need to profit from, you need to profit.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that point, Jista would turn to Kellen. I'm done here. It sickens me to be right in this particular vicinity. I'm going to prepare for the trip.
Okay. Sounds good. I don't. Yeah. I'm going to just walk away.
All right. So yeah, anything else you two want to accomplish before we go to Taraz?
I will ask Shishista that since we were talking about the plans of her going on there, I'm gonna do you plan on bringing any extra security, or are you just gonna be you and the princess on that ship?
That's a good point. Well, every other person on this station is security, so I could probably spare a couple.
I think we don't want to have like a full squad or something, but there should definitely be a couple others that can handle themselves, that can be vigilant about it.
Well, I'll look through my rosters and see who might fit in, or at least have the fighting capacity we would be looking for.
And I would also recommend one of Boykaya's underlings in case the drones got a little disagreeable.
Yes, indeed. I'm not quite sure what the King's ship's transport capabilities are.
That's if we put the Commodore on there.
All right. So then we finally come to Taraz. What would you like to accomplish, if anything, before you leave on the Elena?
A couple things she wanted to do. One would be she wants to get the programming code, as it were, that was found in the bots from Vokaya.
Okay.
If somehow present it in such a way that it can't be traced to where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
And first she would go on a contact Starfleet intelligence, find out if there's been any incidents of the Klingons using programming, code like this to subvert machines on outside worlds.
Okay. They're going to have to get back to you on it, but they are working on it.
Okay. And then secondly, having that code after talking to intelligence, she would want to ask the Klingon ambassador about it.
Okay. So
kind of one of those, hey, we found this sort of things.
Right. I think I'm actually going to be a little bit mean and spend some threat here to say that when you request a meeting with the Klingon ambassador, he does turn you down for the next 3 months. So if you want to wait 3 months, or if you literally want to just storm into his office, both are perfectly acceptable things you could do.
Who was the Tellarite he was arguing with earlier? Did you recognize him?
Yeah, you guys would have recognized the Tellarite. It's Wham. It's the general merchant that Shishista likes to yell at.
They may get Wham's help to storm. Or no, we had a Tellarite in
yeah,
in
you've got Commander Weakass, the Tellarite JAG officer who goes with the Connery accent, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there we go. See about delegating him to contact the the embassy, getting a meeting.
Okay. So Weakass will work on that in the background, and probably by the time you guys get back from Kozo Prime, we can handle the Klingon meeting. So it has been noted. I believe we have our story beat set, but for the time being, the four of you in a couple of auxiliary personnel on both ships. You load up into the King's vessel or onto the USS Elena, a J-class freighter that you have requisitioned for this purpose. We see the two ships leaving dock at Showa Station and heading into the nebula at Impulse Power. But that's definitely going to be our two-parter, and we're going to call it there. So yeah, I really liked that session. I think it was a good way to come back. It was a good way to get everybody back into the vibe. And I will promise Volkaya there's going to be more than enough opportunity for you next session to show your chops. So
no
do
worries.
not worry.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt.
All right. Well, Twitch, stick around because we're going to raid somebody. But YouTube, this is where we say goodbye. Bye-bye, YouTube.